exciting.
Yes, people everywhere. Yes, because it seemed a great model to be able to do something like that. That you basically worked it out. You knew what you wanted, so you weren't on the back foot. You had all that worked out. Then you worked with somebody, and in that case, just so it was with Arthur,
And
I could always see in the spaces their personality was there as well, and yours was over the top. So it was a really nice relationship that you both take somewhere.
And it was kind of, and as you know, as it was happening, he would interpret what I was thinking,
Yes.
and if it was not quite going quite the way I wanted,
Yes.
I might massage it to pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
working
that was my
together.
role.
Yes.
And, you know, we just sort of the adventure of explaining how those half columns worked with
Yes.
mirrors so that the tapestry
Yes.
floated through. And so there was this kind of distorted, extended space
Yes.
where, you know, you didn't quite know what began and ended.
Yes.
And, you know, it's kind of half dream world.
Yes. Yes.
We were playing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nice that you had ideas, and you, in talking it through, that probably flushed out things in your head, and then somebody's actually doing some thinking. So it's almost like you're using their brain,
making it a reality.
Yes, exactly.
And it worked. It worked beautifully.
Yeah.
And so, you know, every kind of room had that interaction. You know, the private dining room with the white lacquer walls. Ewan McKechnie
That's right. Yes.
did that, and it started out with the concept of the breakfast room of the Maison Stockley in Brussels.
Okay. Yeah.
That I had when I went first to Europe in the 60s. I was taken there for lunch.
Mm.
So I saw this exquisite room,
Mm.
and that sort of stuck in my head.
Mm.
And so this was a kind of reinterpretation
Yes.
of that.
And that's that's not the meeting room between the two.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I always thought there was
That's the one that with your photographing
Yes.
the black anteroom.
Yes. I always thought there was a good dose of the last scene of 2001 there. Just, you know, the white room that's in that. It's just the light and the peace that's in there.
Right.
But it's nice to know that that's not it. It was.
Wasn't. It was.
Yeah,
it
very
was
good.
it was the Maison Stockley, and prompted by the Belgian black marble skirting and the yellow marble columns.
Yes.
It was that yellow, white, and gold colorway
Got it.
from
Yes.
the Maison Stockley.
Yes.
And we had that wonderful carpet designed by,
Can't remember. I remember the pattern.
he did the chairman's carpet.
Colin Lansley.
Yeah. Colin Lansley did the tapestries in the boardroom.
Oh, Alan Leach Jones.
Yes.
He did the chairman's one. He did that one as well.
Yes. And I had asked him if he would make it look painterly rather than solid. And he did. And Tony Hyde had that carpet interpreted in such a way that it did look
It did.
like a
It's amazing.
painting. Absolutely
Yes.
exquisite.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
And similarly with the chairman's carpet, it looked like pieces of carpet. Pieces
Yes,
of
like a
cardboard
cutout-
had been
cutout, like a Matisse cutout.
Yes, yes.
Which apparently the window cleaners said, "Oh, it's a clown's face from that side."
Yes.
But of course, when you came in from the room from the other way, you did not
Yes,
see that.
yes,
It was fascinating.
Makes you wonder how that story from window cleaners came back to
Yes.
the sort of powers that be.
Yes.
Okay. Now, George, with the what when you started it, and really before you'd laid pen to paper and chosen materials, would you say you had a vision for it? Were there, apart from rooms that had inspired you, was there something that...
Sam, the whole process grew out of the planning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, the planning actually determined the nature of the thing, and
Yes.
as the thing fell into place in terms of sequence, then the kind of aesthetic
Yes.
fell into place.
So like, here's an opportunity. We'll do this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a kind of, I can't tell you what made me decide on that veneer or that color thing. I might have gone out to, probably could have gone out to Frank Kletzmeyer's.
Well done, George.
Fantastic.
All fixed. It's all
Thank you
done.
so much.
No problem. I'll leave it on for you. It'll lock it
Yes,
off.
thanks.
Okay, George. No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank
Take
you.
it easy. See you later.
I probably went out to Frank Kletzmeyer and said, look, I need X square meters
Mm.
of a veneer to do all the corridor spaces, or all the corridors in the inside of such and such offices, or whatever. All the corridors, I think, probably one veneer. The general manager would probably another veneer.
Walnut. Nick
Whatever.
Whitlam, beautiful, that dark walnut.
And then, those two individual corner offices
Yes.
were different for this. So it could have been that kind of
Yes.
thing of looking at veneers and sort of saying that Nick Whitlam's and then the deputy general manager would be opposite in terms of,
Yes.
so one was pale, one was dark.
Yes.
It was that kind of thing. And that would have been the development.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than I don't know whether it was total preconceived or whatever
Yes.
it looked like.
Yes. Yes.
I could well have just started with the things, the palette that I started assembling
Yes. Yes. Yes.
early on, and then doing each room color scheme, and I did with Ian did several of those furniture and fabric selection of the individual offices, which is sort of a little treasure exercise. Let's make him pretty or handsome.
And when you're on that, tell me the story about the general managers, how they were able to choose their colourway if they chose the carpet.
Yes, that's right. We gave each of them 3 samples of carpet, I think, to choose from, and each carpet had a color scheme attached to it.
But they didn't know that, did they?
No.
No.
So they chose the carpet first, and then got the color scheme.
Yes.
And then you went to the next one with 3,
Yes.
2 from the first. It was kind of shuffle around.
Yes. Yes. And that was agreed to by Nick Whitlam? He said you could do it that way, or you just did it that way?
Just did what he said, do one, just make them happy.
Yeah, good.
Just it wasn't that. He said just make sure they're happy with
Yes.
what they were going to
Yes.
have,
Yes.
and so they made their choices, and then they were shown the thing,
Yes.
and they were happy.
And was part of the reason for that the fact that those people would change over time, so it couldn't be too
The thing would
idiosyncratic?
change, but each office was identical in area and furniture layout. But what was different was the color scheme and the actual furniture pieces. So there was that kind of, when you look at the photographs, each office had a complete individual aesthetic.
Okay.
Because they represented each a different department of the bank.
Okay. And George, how would you describe the way office design was at that time? So this is 1980. I was started in 84, so you would have started early 84, the State Bank? When would you have started on
It would have been 84.
84. How would you describe the scene in Sydney then? And one thing to prompt you there, I remember you saying that Whitlam said that he wanted this banking chamber, or this office suite, to be as good as any in the world to make it an international bank. Do you want to talk
Yes,
about that?
and he said, I would like it to look as if we have always been here.
Yes, yes.
And in a sense, that prompted the kind of historic quotation
Oh, okay. Yes.
within the 20th century.
Yes.
That was sort of the prompt
Yes.
for going back to different
Yes.
images
Yes.
in the past.
Yes.
That was the key.
Yes.
Um,
And using stone and marble as well. That there's those references to the stability of a bank as well.
so saying,
And also using things like stone and timber veneers, because
well,
there's always
look,
that
it was
reference.
all, yes, it's all all part of that thing of making it substantial
Yes.
to represent something that was solid. Look, it was the same when we did the Bank of New South Wales, when Noel Pendleton Walker got the bank to agree to hire Noel
Mm-hmm.
to do their offices at 50 Martin Place,
Mm-hmm.
to bring their offices up to an international
Mm-hmm.
level. And so in a sense, those interiors were really, I'm told, was a kind of kickoff for that kind of interior, executive
Yes.
interior here in Sydney
Yes.
in the year 69, 70.
Yes. So there probably, given that, there probably wouldn't have been much of comparable quality in
No, but I
particularly
believe-
Sydney.
I believe not.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember somebody saying when the State Bank was finished, even when it was finished, the only thing they saw similar was the Bank of France, I think, down the road. They said that you could compare that on a similar level, but nothing else was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow the cost, the Bank of New South Wales cost left people breathless at that time, and then the State Bank left people breathless at the time, and then bank did a kind of audit and things like that, and said it was actually, in terms of the building, was really quite economical.
When it was finished? Yes.
And money shuffle.
Yes, yes.
I had
yes.
no idea how they did it, but they were happy.
Okay.
Would you like some coffee or something?
No, I had some before I came. Thanks. The other thing is just, and I'm really interested in those sorts of the beginnings, and we'll go room by room later. At the beginnings there, at the time, how would you who was really practicing in Sydney in a similar field? Now, obviously, Burley, Kate, and Halliday weren't up and running. Who would have been sort of similar? I guess your competition at the time.
Well, there's Barry Caton Halliday. Before that, it was David Caton on his own.
Yes.
PGW had an interiors department.
Right. Yeah.
A couple other architects.
Desmond Freedman, or that was
Oh,
more.
Desmond Freeman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
EGO. I remember there were a couple that we always used to watch what they were doing, but they never really achieved great things. But I remember.
Yeah. Okay. Sam, I actually can't
EGO.
remember.
Yeah. But
there were other practices
Yes.
emerging at that time and doing nice work.
Yes. Yes. And to sort of cast your mind forward to now, it seems like there's a lot of fantastic designers out there now.
Yes.
So different to then. Like
Yes.
that culture just didn't
Because
exist, did it?
It was that period, the late 70s, 80s, when the interior design practice, as an office skill,
Yeah.
was emerging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, prior to that, Marion Hall Best had done some very significant
Yes. Wonderful stuff.
stuff.
Yes.
Leslie
Leslie Warford had a fantastic reputation. Marion Hall Best for colour and flamboyance.
Leslie was more residential decoration. I mean, there were decorators
Yes. Yes.
with substantial reputations, like Neville.
Yes. Yes. Tell me then, just you said it before I started recording. You were talking about how the State Bank really was like a full stop at the beginning of a new sentence between your relationship with Neville and his role in the firm. Could you just flesh that out?
Look, he felt, in a sense, quite pushed out because it became an architectural element
Yes.
rather than a decorative element. And there were sort of manpower squabbles
Yes.
between the work that he was doing and the work that the bank was doing. So that was something that was had to be sorted out. For example, there was Ewan McKechnie
Yes.
was working with clients called, I think, Reynolds, Susie Reynolds.
Right.
He somehow found her difficult to work with.
Ewan.
She thought
Ewan did.
he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And so Ewan said, please get me out of it. So we put Arthur on. And it was not the most successful transfer.
Mm-hmm. People skills are important, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're essential.
Yeah.
Um,
So there was this kind of
yes.
tension here and there.
Yes. Yes.
And I might have not paid attention appropriately and sort of acquiesced, gave in to you, and well, I should have just insisted he stay with it.
Yes.
For
Yes.
the point of keeping basically the point was actually to keep the client happy
Yes.
rather than the designer.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
And Neville.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting you say that, because I'd never thought about it in that way, that you'd sort of got to a particular point and then the bank really wasn't architectural. To me it was interior architecture you were doing.
Yeah.
It was more, a hell of a lot more yours than Neville. The people you employed was architects, and it sort of went from there. And then after that they were very architectural things as well, interior architecture. So, and interesting that you're saying at that time there was sort of this sort of break between Neville and what
me,
you were doing.
yes. Our working relationship changed, our personal relationship changed, and then we did that idiotic thing of buying that property in Cleveland Street, which the idea of it was, in a sense, a distraction on Neville's part. He had gone to dinner at the property and said, "Oh, this is a huge opportunity for us to sort of rearrange things. We each have a place to live and a place to have the office."
Yes.
Well, it never really quite worked out that way. And I ended up living there. He went out to live in Italy.
Yes.
And the whole thing just became a fancy, full fucking financial disaster.
Yes.
I lost my shirt.
Yeah. Things just sort of get bigger and bigger than you think.
All very pretty.
Yeah.
And the cottage was this gorgeous little fantasy to live in.
Yes.
And the offices worked well.
Yes.
The garden was delightful. Lunch in the garden with the office was fun.
Yeah.
And the amount of work that was coming in wasn't enough
Yes.
to pay for everything, and it just became sort of an impossibility.
Yes. Whereas it probably would have been achievable if the State Bank was only got an office full of people, the money's coming in.
Exactly. And then using the building contrary to our approval, and so it became difficult to sell.
Yes.
It was a pain in the neck.
Yes. I remember going. One of the things for the State Bank struck me was the building that was there. Dino Borrentini's building was an awkward building, and part of your talent was designing an interior that got around that, and you never saw that building. There were just weird columns, and it wasn't sort of you managed to get around it. And one thing you were saying a minute ago, there were the sort of the key spaces like Whitlam's office and the White Room, and the spaces between those rooms sometimes are the most interesting spaces. Like I think it's the Farnese Palace in Rome. Fantastic rooms, and to get the symmetry on one side right and the other, you've got this weird little corridor between the two. And some of those things that I think are the most exciting spaces of getting around the building.
I remember I remember in one presentation when the final